Hello, fellow hellbound friends. My name's Jamie, and this is To Hell in a Podcast.
But you were born. Welcome to planet Earth each day. It's death and more.
Hey guys, welcome back to the To Helena podcast, where it's basically hanging out with today 5 of your really good friends, drinking some wine, telling some stories, and inching your way closer and closer to your front row seat in hell. I'm Kelly, joined today by...
I'm Jamie.
I'm Erin, of Queen of Scots, Erin.
I'm the other Erin. So each week we're gonna start with a few questions in our random TMI section. Some of them from us, some of them our listener suggested before launching into the theme of the week. But before we do, we need to introduce our special guest for this episode, Aimee. Aimee is the Amy's the sister-in-law of me and Jamie, and she's the honorary sister-in-law to Kelly and Erin. She's the sister-in-law of the pod. So
there you go,
Aimee. Aimee, I don't know if you want to do a quick introduction, who you are, and it does. Yeah, you can just be quick.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Aimee. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I am the true sister-in-law of Jamie and Erin, but also honorary of other Erin and Kelly. And I am married to Jamie and Erin's brother Kyle. And I'm similar to Jamie. I'm a teacher as well. And I'm again just so excited to be here with you guys today.
We are going to do our random TMI question already of the week. So the question this week is, if you could know the answer or like who did it to any true crime that has happened, what would it be? So mine is, I would really like to know who actually murdered the boys in the West Memphis 3 case, because that was like really the thing that got me into like more like kind of the justice system and realizing how screwed up it is. And I would really like to know, and I think that would be great for them to know too, like who actually did it. It was probably the stepdad. He's creepy, but like it would be nice to like really confirm it.
And it's always like the stepdad.
There's so many sketchy details. Like there were bite marks and he got all his teeth removed and stuff. There's just a lot of sketchy details that like pretty likely he probably did it. But it would be really nice to know, just because like those boys suffered and then the 3 guys suffered for like decades. So I would really like to know that, because I feel like it would help kind of full circle it for me. All right. So I will go to Jamie for her answer.
Ooh, this is a hard one, because I taught an elective called Histories and Mysteries, where we would look, and a lot of them were true crime and things. So of course, like my brain is like, which one would I choose? But I think one of the weirdest ones, and just ones that I don't have that much good answers, and there's a lot of weird, so supernatural and also just random ones, is the Dyatlov Pass incident, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing.
Yes.
With and so there's the different pieces of weapons testing. Was it like the
aliens?
Aliens, yeah. There's all those weird
Yeti, the mountain people.
Or that was it like that tornado thing?
Yeah, this weird
like some
sound, this like weird high pitched sound that can like cause all these things. So like that's always one of my favorite ones to teach, and there's just so many weird things with it. Like they're taking out their clothes, like one of them missing like a tongue, like looking like they were running away from something, like tents ripped from the inside. So that would be my choice.
That's a really good one.
It's a good choice.
I'm gonna choose Aimee.
Okay, well, mine is kind of, I don't even know if anyone's really heard of this one. I've heard about it on a podcast, and I've kind of been like obsessed with it since, but it's this missing persons case. His name was Brian Schaefer, and basically he was like this 27-year-old who was just like out at the bars. There's like footage of him, and then he just like never comes home, and no one ever knows what happened to him. So his girlfriend was with him that night, and she thinks that he like got picked up for like sex trafficking or like some human trafficking of some sort. So I guess really like I'm kind of like any missing person case, just anybody, I'm kind of like fascinated with, because you just don't know where they went and how are you going to find
Is that
out?
the one? Is that the one where it was on like multiple like closed? Like he was on all these different like TV, like the closed
I heard
Circuit
about that
TVs,
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
on
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that one.
that's a good one, Amy. I like it. You're going
Yeah.
obscure, and I like it.
Yeah.
Now you get to choose who goes next.
Ooh, yes. I think I'll go with Kelly.
All right, awesome. So I have 1,000 of them. I don't like unsolved mysteries. I hate the show. I don't like when they're not solved. I sometimes will skip podcasts if I know that it's an unsolved case because I hate it so much. But if I had to choose one, it would be the Natalie Wood case, just because, I mean, obviously, you know, the big likelihood is that he killed her and Christopher Walken was there and probably saw it. But I just want to know exactly what happened. Was it that they were all drunk and that, you know, she fell off of the boat and they were too drunk to save her? Like, because she could swim. I mean, she didn't like boats, but I'm pretty sure she could swim. So it was like, how do you die right next to a boat? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that one is like, I would love to know what actually happened. Like, be a fly on the wall, or maybe another person so I could actually save her. A fly wouldn't be able to do
Not
anything, but I would
Christopher
love to know what actually happened. And so
Yeah,
I'll pass it to last but not least, Erin.
I think, I've had to narrow it down, but I think the DB Cooper plane hijacking would be mine, just because we just recently, there's a HBO documentary about the mystery, and they go through I think 3 or 4 different suspects, and all of them seem to check out. And even though it's not like a murder and stuff, but it's the only unsolved like hijacking of a plane in history, and I just think that that's just crazy that you could do it at that time and then also get away and nobody know your identity.
Yeah, that's one of the students' favorite histories mysteries one too. So that's a great one.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's just so. I mean, because there's so they talk about how there were so many hijackings like in the 70s. It was just like every weekend they're like, okay, we're hijacked again. But like for this, like it's the only one that was actually unsolved, and they don't know who did it. And all the suspects that they go through on the list are like, they all seem to check out, and so many of them like give the deathbed confessions, and you're like, they can't all be DB Cooper. But,
Or could they?
Or could they?
yeah, maybe
Conspiracy theory.
yeah. So since we all did our TMI random stories, I think we're gonna launch into the main theme of the week, which is travel stories. I'm going to kick it off. My first one is about my studying abroad in southern France. So I studied abroad. It was between junior and senior year of college. And it was just a May seminar. So it was like a 3.5 week thing. I just remember being really nervous because that was the longest time me and Jamie were going to be apart, was for that. Like, I think we had been apart for maybe like a day before that.
No, like 5 days for
remember.
our French.
Yeah, in France you were.
Oh yeah, that must
But
have
very
been like the longest. Yeah, and so it felt like this momentous occasion where I was like going to be doing something like just myself. And I remember I started off with the worst luck was because I missed my actual flight from Minneapolis to was going to be to Paris to Montpellier, France, and so I was flying from Omaha since I was here. It was after school had ended, so I was here, and then I was flying to Minneapolis, where I was going to meet up with the rest of my group. And the flight was that was the time that I actually thought I was going to be in a plane crash, because as we were landing in Minneapolis anyway, so the plane was like shaking so bad right before we landed, so it was like going up and down, up and down. And then literally seconds before we landed, they took back up and we circled again for like another hour.
Okay.
There you go.
So by the time we had landed, I had already missed the flight to Paris, and I only had a couple of seconds to call mom and be like, I missed my flight. You have to coordinate with the university because I was getting rerouted immediately to Amsterdam. So I was like, hopefully she tells them and there's somebody, like I had no idea that at the end, my end stop, that somebody would be there to greet me and bring me to the hotel. And so I prayed and I was crying so bad. I think I cried most of the flight to Amsterdam. I was the saddest person, saddest person going to Amsterdam. They're probably like, why is she so sad? And then when I got there, I had lost my bag for like 3 days. So all I had was the clothes on my back and my book, like the books for the class, which didn't even start for another couple of days. So I didn't even need them right now. And the airline had given me like one of those little bags where it's like, here's a toothbrush and then a giant t-shirt. Hopefully you'll be okay for the next couple of days. So yeah, I didn't even get my bag until it was right before we were going to go to the Mediterranean on the beach, and I quickly ran up, changed into my swimsuit, and then was able to go. But the main part of my story was my crazy roommate.
Shout her out.
So,
Maybe she's a listener.
Teresa. I don't even remember her last name. I don't even think I
Shouldn't
can't remember what. Yeah, well, I think Teresa was like a nickname. I don't know. Her name was Teresa, and she was crazy. So first of all, after every day for school, we'd get released at noon, and then you could do whatever you wanted. You could do like a day trip, or you could just explore the city. And every day she would come home. Somehow she had found hot dogs in France. I don't know where. I know, like
an American shop. We sell hot dogs.
Yeah, like it's the most. It's like a culinary capital, and she was eating hot dogs every single day.
My kind of gal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Aimee.
Amy's like, I'm liking her so far.
Hot dogs, because then Amy's
ideal roommate for Aimee so far.
Get out, Kyle. Teresa's moving in.
Well, I am like, part of me is impressed with her ability to find hot dogs in France at that time. So who knows where she found them, but she'd come back, she'd eat hot dogs, and she'd watch like Jonas Brothers. I don't know if they were live streams or just recorded things, but so yeah, she would just come back, eat hot dogs, watch Jonas Brothers live streams, which we were probably like 21, I think. But anyway, the most important part was her stuffed animal, Mathieu Chevalier. He was a stuffed wolf. I think he was for like the Minnesota Timberwolves because he was wearing some sort of jersey. Yeah, and she did introduce me she was like, this isn't like just a stuffed animal, this is Mathieu Chevalier. As it was almost like I was supposed to know who this famous person was.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I just have to pause this real fast and just say, because I'm feeling real called out right now. Now, there is a stuffed hedgehog on my pillow right now. I don't know if you guys can see that.
I do, yeah.
Now I just feel like I need to put in an explainer. That is because of my 6-year-old niece.
Okay.
She has
Kelly.
It's true.
It's not your personal Mathieu Chevalier.
No, so she has this same exact stuffed hedgehog. So when I was in Omaha recently visiting her, I picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, I love this because hedgehogs are adorable. I think that they're so great, you know? And as soon as I started like holding her hedgehog, she was like, it became her favorite toy. And then when she came down here to Florida to visit for Christmas, she kept being like, Kelly, look what I brought. Like, look, like she was trying to make me jealous of her stuffed hedgehog toy. So I told her as a joke, I was like, you know what? I'm an adult and I have money. So I'm just going to buy myself my own hedgehog. And so I literally did. So I've been sending her pictures of my hedgehog doing thing in Florida so she can send me pictures of her hedgehog doing things in Omaha. But I just want to point out, not the same scenario. This hedgehog is for a 6-year-old girl.
But
If
does
we
he have a
see-
name like Mathieu Chevalier?
No, though I do think I should name him something so that I can tell her, but I don't know what a good name for a hedgehog is. And she insists that all of her stuffed animals are girls, so I feel like he has to be a boy. Maybe he can be Mathieu
listeners
Chevalier.
provide
Jr.
nicknames. For listeners can provide names.
Aaron's
Or-
like out. You're like,
We lost Aaron.
she says that's not happening. There's only Matthew
She's like,
Chevalier.
you know what? I can't be friends with her anymore. It's like the PTSD of it ruined it. She's like, no more, Kelly.
No more. No.
If we see hot
I didn't
dogs,
mean to pause your story, but I was just like, I had to point it out so that people
No,
wouldn't be
you
like,
should. You guys can pause me anytime. I feel like I'm just like soliloquying. You don't need to like.
But tell
You
us
don't need to
more.
make.
Tell us more about this Matthew Chevalier.
Well, yeah,
our favorite Timberwolf.
he was very quiet at first, but then she started like talking exclusively through him. So I'd be like, she had like, she was sleeping on basically like a couch thing, and I had like a little cot, and I'd be writing in my little journal, and all of a sudden like his little face would pop up and he'd be like, hello, I'm going to eat your paper. Like, you know him. Yeah, and she
How
was
did you react?
adult.
How did
I
you?
don't even remember. I think I was just like, keep writing.
Aaron's just stone cold. She's like, fuck you, Mathieu Chevalier.
Tell us about the memoir. That's the
Yeah.
the piece.
Yeah, so the best part, the part that makes Matthew worth it was, so at the end of the class, we had to write like your own personal memoir because it was traveling authors in southern France. So you had to talk about your own experience there. And she decided her writing was basically, I don't even want to say Twilight inspired. It was basically Twilight fan fiction. And the main character, the main love interest vampire's name was Mathieu Chevalier.
I mean, like, did she like? I mean, I have so many sexual questions.
First.
Mathieu Chevalier.
I don't
I'm
know.
concerned for that stuffed wolf and his
What
innocence.
have you seen? What is that wolf?
But that's
seen?
what I was wondering, because she did go on like a date. She went for like a weekend trip to Paris, and she was trying to like stuff him in this duffel bag, and he was like the size of the duffel bag. I was like, did she? And she eventually took him. She was just holding him and took him. But I was like, did she not trust? Did she not trust him alone with me for a weekend? Like,
I hope he was on the train, like, bonjour.
Aaron thought you would seduce him over the weekend.
Maybe, but
She
like,
saw you making eyes at him and knew
I
she
know.
couldn't trust
She's
him.
like,
Matthew
Alone with
she seems very interested in Matthew. But like I was telling like my friends who on the trip, and they're like, no, we don't believe you. I was like, come to my room. I'll say that we're looking at like my journal writing memoir thing. And sure enough, they stroll in and she introduces them to Matthew. And they were like, yeah, never mind. That this is true.
Yeah, because who could make that up?
I don't
even
know.
come up with that as a story.
You're all writers, so obviously.
Yeah.
Y'all come
Still,
up-
though.
Oh, no.
I have a picture of him somewhere, and I am trying to go through all my old files and
Find
finding
it, and
him.
we'll post
Find it.
post the
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
I want to
And
see how
I don't
sexy
know.
this Mathieu Chevalier is.
We have to
very
now.
sexy
the
stuffed
major
wolf.
question relating back to our first episode about Robin Hood, was he wearing pants?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it was just a jersey. So
Oh.
I'm concerned.
No,
for this
no
stuffed
wonder.
wolf.
Like,
I'm real concerned.
Yeah, I feel like he's really seen some stuff. Like, I really feel bad for him as a stuff. Like, I feel like she did like sexy dances for him and stuff. I'm really worried about Matthew.
Well, she was basically like a 12.
You don't have to keep extrapolating over what could have happened with the stuffed wolf. I don't think that's necessary. I
She
mean,
was
there's
basically
going to
like
hell
a
and then there's
12-year-old.
going to hell, Erin.
But I mean, she acted very, very young. Like she acted very like, yeah, she was basically like a 12-year-old. I mean, even the last night was one of the few nights that she actually went out with like the group. She took a sip of beer and she said, "I'm drunk," and I was like, "No, that's not how it happened."
I
Sorry.
mean, if only. We'd be
Maybe
really
she
Yeah.
was an alien. Here's my theory is that she was actually an alien, and so she was acting the way she's like kids this age like Jonas Brothers, and they have stuffed animals. Like that is 100%. That's mine. She was an alien, and you just
And
didn't.
she discovered a hot dog stand and she just couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my god, is
Like,
this
That does seem like something an alien, like they'd be like, "What do I know about humans?" Jonas Brothers, hot dogs.
and sexy
Stuffed
timberwolves.
animals.
Mhm. It got all three.
Check.
So
Oh,
that was my first one.
Can you be sure that Mathieu Chevalier didn't turn into a sexy vampire at night?
No, I can't be sure, but I do like periodically. I have been like every once in a while, I'll Google and see like Mathieu Chevalier and see if it shows up. Like maybe she's an author of like a young adult, not like maybe that vampire like memoir has been
I'm
published.
more thinking that you're looking for an article where she has committed like murder suicide or something, and you're just sure that name's gonna pop up. Like,
Erin,
maybe.
that's what I'd be looking for. Like,
search for it on fanfiction.net because I promise you, it is there and it is gold.
Oh my god, yes, actually, please.
And then we'll read from it.
Dramatic readings is like a mini episode of Mathieu Chevalier.
Yeah, I wish I could remember more about the memoir. All I remember is reading and then seeing the name, and I was like, no, it can't be.
It is. I feel like for the Washington, maybe hold off because I'm sure we'll have some more crazy family stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that did take a long time, I think, right?
Well, probably because I was real batting out too, but I don't who goes next?
I'll go next with it is a family one, but Erin, this is another reason I chose this because this is when Erin was in Montpelier. So while she was there, she was not on our family vacation. So like every summer we'd always go and do a family vacation, and my mom, I swear, would always, I don't know how she found these places. I'm like, Mom, did you like Google like creepiest places or like most remote or strangest places to stay?
Remember, she was obsessed with doing a dude ranch once, despite the fact that none of us remotely like. We're not outdoorsy. We don't like horses or anything, but that was like her obsession.
Talking about doing this dude ranch. But anyway, while Erin was in Montpelier, we went, we did a whole trip where we went to Maine and Quebec and stuff and whatever. Like, oh, awesome, right? We're going to go. So it was me, my older sister, Lindsay, Kyle, and my parents. And so when we go to Maine, she's like, yeah, we're going to this like resort, like on the coast, and like the Maine coast is beautiful and stuff. And so we're like we're in our like rental car or whatever, and we're like driving and we're getting like kind of more and more remote and like into these kind of woods or whatever. And whatever, we pull into this kind of, when you say resort, I'm talking like old school, like, 1950s, like little cabin.
Is that like dirty dancing?
But like a little more like rough around the edges.
Like,
there's like a big, like, like pavilion area, but like, I mean, and I can post pictures, like, this is not at its prime. Like, again, this looks like, it was in its prime in the 50s, and, like, they've been minorly upkeeping since then. So we pull in, and right away, we notice that there's no other cars, no other people there. So we pull in, and there's this, like, old guy. So he's got to be about like 80 something. And he introduces himself as Rupert, and him and my mom get along like swimmingly. And like, so for the rest of the like week we were there, we're like always, of course, teasing my mom about Rupert, and she would get so mad. She'd be like, oh, you guys are so immature or whatever. But he's like, oh, like you guys are here before the season. You guys are the only people staying here. So we're in this like middle of these like
started of a horror movie.
we're the only people there in this like old 19 kind of like 50s things, and the little like cabin we're staying in, he's like, oh yeah, there's no locks on the door. The fact that my mom was not like, oh yeah, let's Rupert, no, we're out of here, no, like that was completely normal. Like, and like, so I remember, and there was like a room with like, you know, again, our cabin, very like low. When I say cabin, like, again, this is like a bunkhouse to like an old 50s like summer camp. And yeah, he kept reassuring us that like this is the early part of the season, that there's always way more people like later in the season. And he was the only, also the only worker there, so just Rupert and us. And I just remember,
I think he was planning on murdering you.
So I remember the one time, like, I can't remember if it was in the morning or it must have been when we first got there, and us being like, Mom, like, this is really weird. And like
we gotta go, Mom.
He was in the cabin with us with like pastries because he could let himself in because there were no locks.
And so I just picture it like 6 a.m. He's like, wake up call. Like,
I know. Well, and that's what we were like.
Pastries.
Well, we were joking. I was like, we're totally going to go into town and mention Rupert, and they're going to be like, Rupert, but Rupert's been dead for 20 years. And like, and then the weirdest, well, not the, I mean, there were so many weird things.
Yeah.
It was just, again, the most bizarre, and all of us being like, Mom, and of course, and my mom in any situation will not admit defeat. So she's like, no, it's cute. It's like blah, blah, blah. And just like acting like this is completely normal for our family. And again, this is not like, you know, this is like 12, 13 years ago. Like this is not during the 50s when, oh, it would be normal to not have a lock on your cabin. And I remember one night too, we were like, ping pong, and like that was in like another like area, and like I just remember hearing like rustling and stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna like die out here. And I'm trying to think. Oh, and then when we got back, so like a month later or 2 months later, like we got a postcard from Rupert addressed only to my mom. They had appreciated like our business or whatever and stuff, but I still need to see if she knows the name of this resort. But like just because all the pictures of us like there's like us,
because Rupert was planning on murdering all of you and then marrying your mom. That was his plan. I guarantee.
The family again.
Every summer, every May, he probably just waits and he's like, Laura is coming back.
She's coming to
like,
my love.
It's so creepy because like all the pictures, you know, we're playing shuffleboard and we're doing this and that, and again, you're in this like.
I want Rupert to be in the background of every picture. Like,
I know.
Yes, like the Haunting of Hill House or whatever, but it's just Rupert in every scene.
I know. I swear, after this, well, not after this, but in the next few days, I'm going to ask my mom at the resort, and I'm going to find Rupert. I'm sure he's dead now.
That should be our next girls trip is going to be to the main resort.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. At first, I wanted it to be New Orleans. I really did, but no, we're going to Maine.
No. And no, our next
love connection between Rupert and your mom.
Yeah. No, our next podcast is called Finding Rupert.
It's just a long investigatory podcast about Rupert.
And then we try and find this resort and realize it never existed.
Whoa. I would not be like, it was totally like a Stephen King novel. I mean, I could be dead right now and I could be a ghost, because if anything was going to happen, like, and all of us the entire time kept being like, Mom, where did you find this? And she couldn't like admit.
She probably Googled abandoned resorts.
That's the weirdest thing.
That's the old man resorts.
She was so weird and like vague about where she found it, which made it even creepier and weirder. So.
Oh my God.
5 out of 5 stars. Go see Rupert at that resort that I don't know the name of. But
We'll insert the name when we find out.
yeah. Say hi to Rupert.
Rupert's gonna be like, why are all these people coming to my resort now? How lovely.
I feel like
Where's
I can only imagine him wearing like these like grounds man, like like in a haunted movie, like he's like the groundsman.
I literally see him in like overalls with a long sleeve, like white thermal shirt, and then one of the newsy caps. Like that's literally how I picture him. Don't tell me what he actually looked like, Jamie. I don't want to know. I want my own image to stay forever.
He pretty much looked like that. Like, and he was old, so it's like there's no way he was doing like all the grounds work unless again he was that army of zombies that he had people
all the people he'd killed. Yes,
I think we were spared because of my mom. So I
thank you, Laura.
I know.
Thank God. I mean, she got you into it, but then she got you right back out of it again. So
exactly
that matters.
That is my at the same time that Mathieu Chevalier was wooing.
Terrorizing Aaron.
Aaron could have been the only living Poldronic left.
Could have, yeah. She's
well, except Laura. Laura was living in that situation.
She wouldn't be.
She was always going to survive.
Rupert, get it together.
No, because what would happen? Here's the horror story: is that Rupert takes out each of her family members one by one, and before Laura realizes it, it's too late. He captures her, but then she's able to escape. She kills him. She leaves. She reconnects with her only daughter, and then at the very end of the movie, Rupert is still alive. Like his body is where she said it was.
Rupert's soul is in my mom.
No,
10 out of 10 would
Chevalier.
Rupert and my mom had sex, and Rupert's soul is in my mom.
You had to bring it there. I was trying to
our 2L podcast. Hey, Mom. My mom does listen to our podcast.
Who does?
Laura, I just want it on record. I love and respect you, and I tried not to go that way. I even let you live at the end of my horror movie. It's your daughter that.
The biggest tragedy of them all, though, is that then this was all pre-Aimee.
Yes.
Be part of our life. Kyle would have been.
Thank God then Rupert didn't carry out his dastardly plot.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Speaking of our lovely Aimee, who is allowed to become part of our family because of Rupert's mercy, we'll let Aimee share the next one.
Okay, well, this was tough because you guys know me and Kyle, we like to travel a lot. That's kind of our thing.
Yep.
But honestly, I'd say the weirdest travel story brings me back to Mexico. And this was actually the same Mexico trip that Aaron mentioned, episode 1 with the dolphins. This was about 7 years ago. It was Aaron, Jamie, her husband Kevin, his sister Jenny, and then my now husband Kyle. And it was like totally like rainy, like our rooms were like flooding at one point. Like we were at this all-inclusive resort in Mexico, and like there was nothing to do except for drink. So me and Kyle were like 20, so like we were just in heaven. Like this was the coolest thing ever, hanging out with these older people. And so all we would do is drink all day. And there was one time that this cracks me up every time I think about it, where there was like these freestanding like bathtubs, but they were like hot tubs, like these giant jacuzzi hot tubs that we would all just pick a room to go in and just like hang out in the hot tub. And so it was one day we were doing that, and Kyle was on the phone ordering room service, and he was like, yeah, we'll have a cheeseburger. And in the background, everyone's like, no, 4 cheeseburgers. He's like, 4 cheeseburgers. And then I mean, seriously, the food was like out of control. Like we had just a feast in there. And then this person knocks on the door to bring it to us, and we were all in the hot tub except for Kevin, who was wearing a robe, and he opened the door.
He was sitting on the chair. Remember?
Yeah.
He was like in the chair,
just like hanging out. And so it just didn't look right. Like this guy coming in was probably like, "What in the world is going on in here?" But it doesn't end there. So that was really funny, kind of weird, but. What really got out of control was when we booked our fancy dinner, because all the places you could eat at were just like, you could just walk in and eat it. But this one, you had to make the reservation, and you had to take this golf cart to get all the way to this fancy Italian restaurant.
Fancy.
And
in Mexico.
I can speak for me and Kyle. We were pretty drunk going into this fancy dinner. I think we all were. Yes,
it was an all inclusive. We were.
That sounds about right.
I mean,
yeah, for the Poljanix, it sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, we're at this quiet, fancy restaurant, and there's this poor innocent woman who's sitting probably, I don't know, 10, 12 feet away from us. She probably just relaxed in the sun a little bit too long, got a little brown, but I believe Kevin started it where he was referring to her as the internet sensation tan mom back 7 years ago. So I think he whispered like, "Oh, that looks like tan mom," and then we just went out of control. I mean, we probably thought we were being quiet, but we were shouting like, "It's tan mom, it's tan mom, bitch," because like that's like what this tan mom internet sensation lady would do. I don't even remember what tan mom was all about, but like we just went
I know
off.
it's been so long.
You're a sloppy mess. Yeah, I know.
Oh, it was horrible. This poor lady was probably like, "Are they talking about me?" Like, we were so loud. I remember there was a point where like I had to get up and go into the bathroom just to like stop, like, and like splash water on my face because I was just like so out of it. Like, I feel like it was just out of control, so loud and just so funny.
Poor
And
tan mom.
poor tan mom. I mean, she seriously probably just got a little sunburn, and we just took it way overboard at her nice fancy dinner. So that was definitely one of the weirdest stories that I've ever had, and it always brings you back to Mexico.
It does.
Really quick though, I have an update. I have I found Rupert.
Rupert?
Yeah.
Oh no!
my God, you've been around Maine with Rupert.
You've been around Maine with Rupert.
You can see a picture of him. It says Rupert. Everyone calls him by it says first time, but I'm assuming first name. This is from our WordPress. Fits right in at the resort, which has an old-timey summer camp feel to it. But it does have cocktail service. Did not have cocktail service when I was there.
He's wearing shorts in this picture. I'm a little disappointed because I just pictured him.
Well, that's just one picture of him.
Yeah,
And it doesn't actually show his face, which is
well, his head's down. You can't even see his face. Yeah.
And look at all these people. There's at least 10 other people in that picture with him. So he's not murdering any of those people. He was murdering you guys.
The other big thing is, he's a volunteer. Oh, here he is too. Here, you can see his face here. He looks, Kelly, he's wearing the hat that you were talking about.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, the Newsies hat?
Yeah. Kind of. It's actually more of a regular hat.
Oh my God, he's wearing a cap. Okay, but he does look like I pictured him just.
Oh, yeah.
And
that look pretty
he's
similar.
a volunteer.
Guide Rupert Neely poses with his stick.
Wait, and the moose's skull. Did you guys see the moose's skull? Are we sure it's a moose's skull?
I love everything about
Are
this
we?
concern.
Okay, now I found the resort too, which the pictures make it again look way nicer.
Well, that's the story with everything.
When you're not the only person there. But anyway, we'll talk more. You guys can sponsor us to go stay.
Do like a GoFundMe.
I want to know in the lodging area if they mention that the lodging doesn't have
locks.
Maybe they've added some
and added them.
I would hope.
Probably.
Or it's bring your own locks.
Yeah. It doesn't I don't see locks mentioned.
YOL.
Yeah, I don't see locks mentioned as an accommodation, so I just want to put that out there.
Rupert, I love it. I'm very happy that you salute. Thank you for that.
I'm gonna send my mom an image of Rupert. See what she says.
Yeah, you guys have talked about him for so many years, and I've never seen a picture.
No, I've already hijacked. I just wanted to let you guys know that Rupert does exist.
Excellent. He's not dead.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, actually, I don't know. That's from 2014.
Well, I mean, he could be dead, but he wasn't dead when we were there, is what I'm saying.
Or was he?
No one knows.
Who knows? This could all be fake.
Right. I mean, he could be a ghost.
A ghost who poses very well for pictures, yes.
There's definitely an 80% chance that he was dead when you were there.
Yeah,
at least 80%.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think 80% is fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. So I will share my travel stories. Like we were kids, we didn't go on a ton of vacations that were just like vacations. We would always go to like visit family. And my mom's family lives in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is like the little curly end of the state. And we went, and my brother's like very into historical stuff, and so my mom's like, "Let's go see like Plymouth Rock and all this other stuff." So when I pictured Plymouth Rock, I pictured like this big, like craggy sort of thing. No, it's a very small, boring rock that they've like built a little hut around so people can't like do stuff. Like people chuck coins at it and stuff. I mean, it's hideous. And so Max and I were like, well, this is a bummer, you know, because we pictured like people sailing to America and seeing this big rock. Instead, it was like, wah. Like I feel like people in England just didn't know what rocks were. You know, like they're
like, that one looks good.
So we then went to this place called Plymouth Plantation, which is like they have it split up between like the settlers and then like the Native American side of it. And the settler part was exceptionally boring. Like it was, you remember we did Pioneer Day in like school because we're all from, you know, Nebraska. It was basically like Pioneer Day. I mean, how many times can I watch someone make a candle? It's one time is how many times I can watch a person make a candle. And they were like, look, we dyed fabrics and stuff. And my brother and dad ended up like getting occupied with the blacksmith, which I'm sure was cool. But my mom and I ended up like wandering over to the Native American side, which was like super pretty. And it was in the forest. It was like so quiet and stuff. And we were listening to this tour guide, like, well, he was a tour guide, like telling us like, this is how the Native Americans lived. Like, this is how they cooked and stuff. I'm like, okay. And no, Native American Rupert?
And his name was Rupert.
He was young. He was a young guy. He was actually pretty cute. But then I look over and I see this guy. He's like bending over to like stoke the fire and stuff like that. And full on could see his ball sack and like his paint and stuff. Like this guy was not wearing underwear underneath his like what? And so I'm like, Mom! And we're just like crying. I'm like, we can't stop laughing. And like this poor tour guide, I hope he didn't think we were laughing at him because we absolutely were not. But like Mom and I had to like step away, and Dad and Max like came to join us like a couple minutes, and Mom and I were just like in hysterics. And Dad's like, what? And my mom, like, all she can gasp out is like balls is pretty much all she can get out. And so my dad has no idea. We ended up like telling him on the way back. But I remember I told my brother, I was like, the most exciting thing about Cape Cod was seeing a Native American man's ball sack. Like, I mean, we went on a whale ship later, so that was obviously more exciting. But
at the time,
that was the most exciting part. And like, I appreciate the authenticity of his outfit. He really was going for it.
Yeah.
Maybe he could have purchased some briefs to go.
He was like, no underwear. I'm very historical.
Oh, and I was like 9 at the time. So I was like kind of like gradually like getting a grasp of those things. And like we had gone to Provincetown the day before, which is like a very like gay friendly city. It was like one of the first in the United States that was like really open and accepting of people. And so they have a bunch of like kitschy shops, and we had walked by and they had like, ooh, a Ken doll. And I was like, ooh, a Ken doll. And he had like a working penis. So that like really set the trip. I feel like.
I mean, so many things about you are like clicking in place in my mind. I feel like I'm just like, you're like an onion. I'm just peeling back layers, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense to me.
Oh my god,
starting to mean something.
We stopped there because we did a family vacation to the Northeast, and we stopped there because Mom said we ended up going through Providence like during the like gay parade, like so that was when we were going.
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah,
little kids. But we were really young.
Yeah, and there's like restaurants are so amazing, and the shops are so amazing, and there's like very kitschy and like fun, campy sort of stuff, and then a Ken doll with a working penis. And I remember I was like, Max, so that Ken doll, and he was like, yep, he's got a penis. Like, I think I was like maybe 8 or 9, so that would make Max like, you know, like freaking 10 or 11 years old, and he's just like, yeah, that's a penis.
Yeah.
And he was like traditional Ken, like he was wearing his windbreaker and his little jeans, and then they just had this like thing sticking out. So that was my very penis-centric trip to Cape Cod. What now?
Did it move?
Yes, and you could pour water into his mouth and he would pee. And apparently there was like yellow dye within his penis, so it would make the pee come out yellow. The shopkeep was very kind in showing us how the Because he's like, do you want an anatomically correct Ken doll? I'm like, I don't know, buddy.
No.
Like, Ken is kind of the sexless assistant here. Like, I don't think I need him to have.
Yeah, he doesn't play a huge part in my Barbie playing time.
And it was like knee length. I mean, like, this dude was really rocking a pretty decent sized penis. So I was like,
knee length? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ken's penis going down to his knee. I mean, it was a lot. I asked, because I remember I was like, man, is this the souvenir I want to buy on this trip? The answer was no, I did not purchase it, but like, I mean,
I kind of wish you had. I'm not gonna lie.
At the end of the day, I also wish I had, like, looking back, but as a 9-year-old, I was like, no.
I don't need a Ken doll with a third leg. No, thank you.
That like ends up like has some sort of like marker tip dye in it that if you like pour water in and pisses out yellow.
That they're like, oh, let's not only have them be able to pee, but let's make sure it's yellow.
Yeah, like we're committing. They committed 100%, which I gotta appreciate them for that. But at the same time, it's like, okay.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah, so that was that my very penis centric trip to Cape Cod, Massachusetts. All right. So
Nice.
Kelly, you get to finish up the weird.
I will finish this off, and hysterically enough, I am also going to the Northeast. What is up with it being up there and things being so weird?
Rupert!
And this isn't, no, wouldn't that be funny if we all had our own Rupert stories?
Rupert sold me the Kendo.
Rupert brought the food. And
what if I showed the picture and all of you guys were like, wait.
Rupert was
that Rupert? Like, we all know separate Ruperts. Like, that's just like a super common name.
Yes.
So mine's not weird or anything like that. It's just hysterical. So my family, we're a big family. We're a family of 7. So I did not fly until like I was 19. Like when we were kids, you drove everywhere because it was way cheaper.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's like flying was not a thing that you did. But so I have taken some pretty epic road trips with my family, and we will go a long distance. So we drove from Omaha, Nebraska, and we did sort of the Northeast, not like Maine, New England, but we went up to Washington, D.C., and then we went up to like Niagara Falls. And it was a really fun trip. We always try and hit a couple of places on road trips, and we were at Niagara Falls. I'm actually going to tell 2 stories because I have 2 really hysterical stories. But at Niagara Falls, we stayed at a hotel that had their like dining area, like their buffet and everything on like the top floor. And it had just like beautiful views of Niagara Falls. Like it was just all windows on one side. So we went and had breakfast there most days, because it was just like a breakfast bar. And there's one day we're sitting up there and suddenly we don't know what happened, but just some guy starts randomly yelling at one of the workers there. Like there's some commotion, he's upset about something, we don't know what started it. And my sister Mary just like starts pretending like she's the worker, and she goes, "Sir, I was here the entire time. That bacon did nothing to you." She just kept coming up with the most random reasons why this guy would be like, and my dad is threatening that he's going to go up and like get more fruit. And we're like, you've never gotten more fruit in your entire life. He just wanted to go home to try and see what was like going on. So that just sort of sets the tone. Those are the kind of trips that we have. Weird stuff happens to us. Weird people pop up and we make fun of them constantly about it. Right. But the funniest thing is that when we were going to Niagara Falls, we were going to the other side. And for anyone who hasn't been there, to get to one side of the falls, you have to actually go into Canada, meaning that you have to pass Border Patrol to Canada. And so we're driving through Border Patrol and you have to stop and they'll like ask you a couple of questions, like just in your car. And so the lady stops us and my dad is driving and she just asks him where we're going, and he answers they're going to see the falls. And then she's like, "What hotel are you staying at?" And my dad goes, we please don't shoot us." Like, he just full-blown panics. He full-blown panics. He cannot remember the name of the hotel, and he just goes, and I'm sorry, he went, "Please don't shoot me." Like, after stumbling over his words for like a good 30 seconds, like the Canadian police are gonna shoot him for not like Remember the name of the hotel?
Suspicious.
I know. And so we're all cracking up in the back because how ridiculous is that? So they let us in to the country, surprisingly. They were like, get out of here.
Hashtag
But then when we,
privilege.
I know, but they did make us pull off, and like he had to go into the building to like answer additional questions. But yeah, we almost got shot at the Canadian border because my dad couldn't remember the name of our hotel, and he was sure that was going to be the retaliation for not remembering.
The logical.
It was the logical next step. Was you don't remember the name of your hotel.
That. I can never remember that stuff, so that would be me. Like, I mean, I have no idea. Like, you know, especially when you're traveling, you're thinking about how much other stuff. Like, I don't think I know where I'm staying.
Well, it's like, but it's one of those things, right? Is that they tell you that those are the kind of things you need to know. Like, I mean, it's Niagara Falls. Everybody knows you're going to travel into Canada to see the other side of it, right? You know, so it's like, it's super easy. Like, you just have to tell them your name, that you have to show them your passports, and then you just have to answer some simple questions. He could not do it, and it was hysterical. And we laugh about it still because, I mean, please don't shoot me.
Maybe on like a list, like anytime he tries to go into Canada, they're like, oh, he's flagged. Maybe ask him about his hotel.
You need to pull this guy off and like really check him, like not just in his car. You have to go and like have him walk in and talk to you because it was really funny. And if I could just real fast, I do have a slightly weird one. And actually it was another going up north story. So maybe we should stop doing that. Everybody needs to start going south. But we went, me and my sister Stacy went up to Minneapolis to Mall of America. She really wanted to go for some reason. I'm not actually sure why.
That sounds like Stacy though.
Yeah, so we were traveling up there, and when we started traveling back, we stopped at this gas station in the middle of nowhere, as you do. There's like nothing up there. And so we stop at this gas station, and it's the creepiest gas station I've ever been to in my life. I mean, like, it is hands down, it's kind of grimy, and there's not a lot of people there, and the people who are there look very like rough, like they just look like they've lived really hard lives and they're one push away from going totally insane. And there's like a couple just sitting in an open van with a sign, basically begging for money so that they can make their trip or whatever. But the thing that makes it the creepiest is that this fog just settles over this gas station while we're there. And literally me and Stacey are like, this is how you get murdered. Like, this is where it's going to happen. I mean, like we stayed together. We didn't make the mistake of breaking off this gas station. We get filled up. We get back on the road, and this fog, which is literally as thick as like the mist in Stephen King's The Mist, so probably hiding monsters, follows us for 6 of the 7.5 hour drive. Not a joke. For 6 hours, we are driving through fog. We are driving through fog that at some time is so thick you can't see 30 feet in front of the car. It was weird. It was so weird. Me and my sister Stacy, we shouldn't road trip together. Something weird happens to us every time that we do.
You're right.
We shouldn't do it. The last time that we drove together, the GPS, Google Maps took us off of the road and had us take an alternate highway to the Kentucky State Penitentiary. That's not a joke. It's literally what it took.
This is not where you wanted to go.
No, and it's not a joke. It was taking us on an alternate route because it said the interstate was closed, which I don't believe was actually true. And it goes, follow the signs for the Kentucky State Penitentiary. Like, literally, there were signs we were following. You're like, and then we hit a deer. Then we hit a deer on this road trip. That's not a joke. In the middle of backwoods nowhere, Kentucky, no lights, no anything, like nothing around us, just woods on either side. And then suddenly there's a deer. We hit it. And I swear to you, thank God our car could still drive, because if it could not have, we would have been murdered by some backwoods Kentucky serial killer.
The deer out to the road, like go get him, go get him.
Seriously, or it was a fake deer or something crazy like that. Like it wasn't actually a deer at all, because we didn't see the deer afterwards. It's not like it was on the side of the road after we pulled off. It like had run off. Yeah, me and Stace, we're not allowed to road trip together anymore.
Remote areas, I think, are so creepy. I mean, Aimee, didn't you and Kyle were going around in a camper van in New Zealand? I mean, how remote was that? I just find that creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's remote, but I mean, no penitentiaries that we're going to, so no Ruperts, no Mathieu Chevaliers. I mean, I felt pretty safe compared to these stories. Yes.
Well, and you also have, and not saying that you need a man because you 100% don't, but there is something just like comforting about having a guy with you because you're like, even in horror movies, they go first. So it's like you have that buffer, right? If it's two girls in a road trip, you don't know who's dying first. In that horror movie, it could be either one of you. You don't know. And I'm probably the first one to die in a horror movie anyway. So it's like,
Stacey would probably be the plucky, like, last girl. You're right. She'd be the final girl. You're right.
Yeah, I would have to sacrifice myself though so that she could survive. And so we're not allowed to take road trips together anymore, just me and her. We've decided something weird happens to us every single time.
I think
like,
it's a good plan.
there's a common denominator, and that we don't want to just like maybe it's Kelly in the common denominator.
No.
That's the thing. I have never had anything weird happen when I'm traveling with anyone else. I mean, like slightly weird things, but never weird like that. Like the weirdest thing that's happened to me with like Aaron was when we went to your boyfriend's small town and we were like, no, because everyone knew we weren't supposed to be there.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Literally by our car. They were like, oh, those people are new. They don't belong here. It was creepy.
Yeah, it was.
But that's just small town, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, small town Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No.
And you married.
I did, but it was, yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah. Eudora, Kansas. It actually wasn't so bad, except that everyone knew right away that we did not belong there. Just by our car. They couldn't even really see in. Like the windows are sort of tinted. They just knew the car didn't belong.
Well, they also they recognized, even when I went with Brian in a car with the correct license plate, he was also from there. They'd be like, he's bringing an outsider in. So
we were just walking down the street. Remember, we just walked down to a park. We were 16, so there's nothing fun to do, especially in a small town. So we were walking down the street to a park, and some guy just stopped and was like, "Oh, hey, Brian, who's the new girls?" And we were like, "How do you know that we're new? Like, how do you know that we don't live here?" It's because they know everybody. Living in a small town would be weird.
No, I don't want everyone knowing the business.
Well, that's what, like in Hancock, the small town where our lake house is in Wisconsin. I remember one of the street, like they do like the street dances, and some random townie came up to us and was like, "You talk very, you're like," they were like, "Are you from Europe? You talk European," and we're like.
It was our clothes too. They said how we talk.
Oh, our clothes too. And we looked European. I don't know what
I accept Hancock because they have 3 bars for like a population of like 300 people. So I kind of like really. Oh no, one of them closed.
Yes.
Which one?
The bowling alley.
No.
Well,
Aimee, have you been to the bowling alley? Yeah, were you around when the bowling?
Yeah, Aimee.
Yeah.
Oh,
because we went bowling together.
Yeah.
I know. I forgot. It's been so long. It's been a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposedly there's new they're redoing it, but it's been
how many years?
So.
I was really excited when your parents thought about buying it.
I know
that would have been cool, but
someday we'll make them.
Hancock. That is a good small town, but it's still weird to me, especially because it's like they make it seem so idyllic, but I'm like, man, but wouldn't you just like having everybody in your business all the time? I'm too weird for that. People would be concerned. Like I'd be the woman that everyone was sure was a witch. Like that would be me in a small town. And I'm not even very witchy. They just would, like right now I'm wearing like a Harry Potter shirt, which I love very much, and they'd be like, "She's a witch, burn her." Like,
she brings strange men home and they never leave. Clearly she's a witch.
Wait, what?
One night stands in Hancock, Wisconsin. Come on.
Oh yeah, sure.
They never leave.
So many guys there that I'm sure are just super. I'd be super into.
Bachelor.
But also, why would they never be seen again? Like that's the problem with the story. It's not the random men come back to my place.
You tell me, witch. Where did they go?
Only a
They're
buried in the they're buried in the Indian mound.
Yes.
I mean,
No, I just leave them out for the black bears.
Yeah, for the bear.
Yeah, there's bears out there. It's like true country wooded. Ugh. Yeah. I love it, but scary.
Yes, accurate.
On that note, we should probably wrap up this week's episode.
We should wrap up. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. Sorry if this was another long episode. As I'm sure you can tell, we're all a little bit of a rambling group. But thank you for listening to this episode of To Hell in a Podcast. We'll be back next week. Unfortunately, Aimee isn't joining us, but I'm sure we will have her on the podcast again. And thank you for joining us on this podcast, Aimee. Always lovely to see you, especially now that you're in California. You moved away. But next week, not going to tell you too much about it. It's going to be our first episode, I think, where we have one person sort of tell us a little bit about something that they're interested in. It's Aaron, and it's probably going to be history related.
It's not this Aaron.
No, it's
other
me,
Aaron.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Sorry, guys.
Mental health or sex related, or both, or the things combined. So
it'll be fun, and it'll be interesting, and it'll be Aaron using her expertise in a field that she's actually qualified to talk about, which is fun and refreshing in this time where so many people are, saying things when they don't have any reason to. But yeah, so join us next week. We're excited to see you, and we'll send you that seed in hell.
And
like and subscribe.
And like and subscribe always.
Bye. Bye.
All right, bye.
You know that somewhere else the innocent are dying, but as for you yourself, you're busy online buying.